Welcome viewers to my channel, Real Earth Rocks. I'm Chris. Today I'm talking about inertia, the Coriolis effect, centrifugal force, Foucault pendulum, with regard to proving or disproving that the Earth is a spinning globe. Newton's first law of motion, inertia. An object will not change its motion unless acted upon by an unbalanced force. Inertia of rest. An object will stay where it is placed unless something moves it. Inertia of motion. An object will continue at the same speed until a force acts upon it. That's an interesting one because on Earth things require petrol or batteries or some type of mechanical mechanism to keep them going. Just because you roll a ball does not mean it will continue to go. It will just stop eventually. So I'm not sure about that one, but their example is a body going forward when a car stops. Inertia of direction. An object will stay moving in the same direction unless a force acts upon it. And they use the example of one's body movement to the side when a car makes a sharp turn. That's also known as centrifugal force. Now, inertia is the explanation that is used by mainstream science to explain that the atmosphere above Earth is spinning along with the spinning globe. This explains why a helicopter cannot just go overhead and stay in a fixed position and have the Earth move underneath it. They say that the helicopter is actually moving with the spin of the Earth. It then has to exert its own force in order to go in some other type of direction. It says here the Coriolis force in physics is an inertial or fictitious force that acts upon objects that are in motion within a frame of reference. And the interesting thing about Coriolis effect is that it's always demonstrated on a moving object, whether that be a merry-go-round or a swing or something. But they insist that the Earth is a spinning object and yet it cannot be displayed on Earth. Centrifugal force is something that we do see when we're on a spinning wheel or even riding a bike. You are pushed outward when moving in a circular motion. Now, one of the most interesting proofs that the Earth is a spinning globe issued mainstream science, mainstream media, is the Foucault pendulum. Now, when you research the Foucault pendulum, or any pendulum, it would only really work effectively on the North and or the South Pole if the Earth were a spinning globe. But didn't we just say that the atmosphere spins along with the Earth? So if the atmosphere is spinning along with the Earth, what's moving relative to the pendulum that could detect the spin of the Earth? If anybody knows the answer to that question, I'll be very interested in your opinion. The Foucault pendulum itself, or the original pendulum, was designed by Mr. Foucault. The demonstration was in France. The pendulum would really only work effectively on a flat surface, and yet we are informed that the Earth is a spinning globe, and that to prove this fact, we have the Foucault pendulum. The Coriolis effect. Objects moving straight appear to curve when you are rotating, and yet we do not see this on Earth. Now, the reason they say we don't see this on Earth is because of inertia. Is the Earth an inertial frame of reference? Newton's law works sometimes, it says here. Newton's laws work sometimes. At other times, they appear not to work. Frames of reference in which Newton's law of motion are observed are called inertial frames. For instance, the surface of the Earth is almost an inertial frame. So for the sake of science here, it says the surface of the Earth is almost an inertial frame. It says here the Earth is approximately but not quite an inertial frame. See the Foucault pendulum and the Coriolis effect. Non-inertial frames in measurements made with respect to some other frames of reference. Newton's law appear to be violated. For example, when a bus goes around a corner, a standing passenger who is not holding onto the rail seems to find himself accelerating sideways. Now, he does find himself accelerating sideways. If you try throwing or catching balls on a merry-go-round, you'll observe some apparent violations of Newton's laws. So in conclusion, if you believe the Earth is a spinning globe, then it stands to reason that the atmosphere is spinning along with it, because planes don't go quicker if they go north, south, east or west. You can't raise a helicopter up and have the Earth meet it below at a new destination. If you are an advocate of the flat Earth theory, you understand the Earth to be a stationary plane, and the atmosphere is a stationary plane along with the Earth. Let's call that inertia. The Coriolis effect. To be demonstrated, we have to use a spinning or moving item here on Earth. I cannot prove or disprove whether or not hurricanes spin clockwise or anti-clockwise. This is attributed to the Coriolis effect. But on Earth here, when we're standing on Earth, we do not consider or take into account the Coriolis effect. So I'll call that one debunked or up for discussion. Centrifugal force, centrifugal force, that is an obvious force which pushes a person in the opposite direction of the turn. Or if you're in a car and the car goes forward quickly, you go backwards. So that one is confirmed. Now, Harvard and NASA claim that the Foucault pendulum is the one experimental proof that has been carried out here on Earth to prove the Earth is a spinning globe. But the Foucault pendulum cannot work, or any pendulum for that matter, if the Earth is an inertial frame, meaning the atmosphere moves along at the same speed as the Earth. So what is the pendulum moving relative to? With this in mind, I have to debunk the Foucault pendulum and its proof that the Earth is a spinning globe, and conclude at this point that the Earth looks most likely to be a stationary plane. Thank you very much for joining me. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation, and I'll catch you next time.
I'm not allowing for any of that.
No Coriolis.
And I would like to point out to everybody, there is no Coriolis. Oh, okay.
Coriolis.
I would like to point out to everybody who's watching, there is no Coriolis.
Coriolis. Coriolis.
Coriolis. If you're wondering about Coriolis, well, I'm about to prove the point. Aiming the arrow at the target.
We're very scientific here. Oh, mister.
Oh, the Earth did
Bloody Coriolis!
Yeah, bloody yeah. Oh, the Earth must have stalled.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it stopped. I stopped spinning for a sec. Hang on.
See that?
Absolutely marvellous. Again, this is just my research and my bit of an opinion. I would be interested in any scientific minds out there that could clarify the inconsistencies that I find with these issues. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you next time.